Hi, this is a very interesting piece in today's FT by Andrew Hill in his management column. The title is "It is finally time to flush the C-suite down the U-bend." And he says in it that bosses face temptation too, though, to cultivate a proliferation of chiefs as a way of assuaging the frustration of ambitious contenders for power and keeping their work rate up. At the fringe, this leads to C-level absurdities like chief birthday officer. And then he goes on to say, at the top, it is a recipe for endless queues for the strategy meeting, where chief officers for impact, purpose, growth, diversity, and sustainability fight with the more traditional CEOs, CFOs, and COOs for seats around the table. And I think that's absolutely right. I would add that in respect of his comments about traditional seats, that sometimes boards do the opposite of title inflation, and they forget, or perhaps not forget, deliberately don't appoint the key function heads they need to avoid risks and to maximize opportunities. And so over the years I've been working with boards, I've sort of come up with an absolute must list on an operating board or exco, which is you must have a CEO, a CFO, a COO, a CMO, that's the Chief Marketing Officer, Sales Director, and a CTO. You can have, and probably should have, a GC or access to a legal officer, and ideally, if you are large enough, somebody in HR to support the CEO. And there are other titles, of course, that you can have, but these are, to my mind, at least essential functions that need to be addressed, and they're very distinct. Even in small organizations, I'm a one-man band, and I perform all of these functions, but I have to perform them all, and just remind ourselves that in SMEs or in large organizations what each of these people do. The CEO's job is to create an environment in which the people around the table thrive. Not necessarily everybody in the business, but the primary function of the CEO is to create an environment in which these people thrive. Secondly, to grow the business or the organization. And thirdly, to delight, please stakeholders, including shareholders, society, the environment, suppliers, employees, and so on. And that's the job of a CEO. The CFO is responsible for the numbers, short-term, medium-term, long-term, responsible for ensuring that we make our numbers. Very often, the CFO may not be given the degree of latitude that the CEO needs to give the CFO to do their job. Sometimes, in some organizations, the CFO is stronger than they should be in relation to the CEO. And sometimes people are more fearful of the CFO than the CEO. It's getting that balance right between a finger in the side of the CEO, a sort of yes but person, but not always a yes but person. It's art rather than science. The COO is about keeping our promise to the market. Whatever we promised our customers, have we delivered? And if we're not delivering, you go to the COO in charge of execution. The CMO, the Chief Marketing Officer, is about communicating our proposition to the market very, very clearly. And the Sales Director is responsible for the number, i.e. the sales number, the revenue number, this month, this quarter, this year, and only one person should be responsible for the sales number. And finally, you got CTO, whose job it is to ensure that business strategy is enabled by technology. Sometimes you might have the CEO wearing the sales director hat. You could have the CTO and this wearing the COO hat, or whatever mix, depending what number of people you have around the table. But if these individual functions are not addressed, so for example, you could have a situation where there's not much store putting marketing, and people don't understand marketing. Well, you'll find that if you have not got a strong marketing person with the marketing hat on, your sales may be very lumpy, may suffer. If you are not paying sufficient attention to technology and how technology can be harnessed to enable your strategy, you can see how you're not going to make the best and get the best from your business. That's it. That's all I wanted to say about Andrew Hill's great piece. It's worth reading. It's on page 12. It's on page 12 in Working Careers. It says it's finally time to flush the C-suite down the U-bend. Well, I agree, but not entirely. Thank you. See you again soon.